Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Like School Level 4. Academic Week 7 Language Skills. Language Skills. Reading. Hiding in plain sight. How animals use camouflage. Creative writing. Biography. Grammar. The adjective. English prose. Animals have a long history of being used in war. Reading. Hiding in plain sight. How animals use camouflage. Dear friends, let us read how animals use camouflage to keep themselves hidden from view. This camouflage keeps them safe from human hunters and other animals. Sometimes animals use this as a way to sneak up on their own prey. Even animals living underwater have many different ways of blending into their environment. Under the sea. The decorated crab looks very much like a funny little spider as it scurries across the sand underwater. These animals will pick up pieces of seaweed or a small sponge and carry it about like a hat on their heads. Although we can easily see what they are doing, many other sea-dwelling animals seem to be fooled by the camouflage and they leave the little decorated crab alone. The sea urchins are underwater porcupines who do not appear to need much camouflage. These animals have long spines that are very sharp. Sea urchins like to cover themselves with rocks and shells so other animals cannot see them. Scientists think this trick might keep them safe from birds at low tide. Parrotfish have seen through camouflage. They will hide between the cracks of a coral reef. These fish also blow a clear, rubbery bubble around themselves. This camouflage does not cover them, but many fish cannot break through the bubble to eat the parrotfish. A sea ray will hide itself in the sand along the bottom of the water. It uses its wide fins to nestle under the sand until only two eyes can be seen. When unsuspecting sea creatures come by, the ray will pop up and eat them. Hermit crabs hide in empty shells that they find. They use these shells as they crawl about the ocean floor and even on the beach. This is useful camouflage and is a house for the hermit crabs to use. On land. A bittern is a tall, thin bird that is striped with brown and white colors. When this bird stands up and stretches its neck out, it looks just like a reed in the marshes where it likes to live. It will even sway just like the reeds do. Humans and other animals can be very close to a bittern and never see it. The crab spider uses its ability to match the colors of flowers to catch food. Tiny insects will not see the crab spider until it is too late for them to escape. Lions are sandy colored and this lets them blend in with the rocks and sand on the plains where they prefer to hunt. A young fawn, like Bambi, has a brown coat with white spots that helps it stay safe in the forest. When this baby deer lies on the floor of the forest, the spots look more like little splashes of sunlight. This camouflage only works well if the fawn is lying down, however. Writing a biography. A biography is simply the story of a life. Biographies can be just a few sentences long, or they can fill an entire book or two. Very short biographies tell the basic facts of someone's life and importance. Longer biographies include that basic information, of course, with a lot more detail, but they also tell a good story. Biographies analyze and interpret the events in a person's life. They try to find connections, explain the meaning of unexpected actions or mysteries, and make arguments about the significance of the person's accomplishments or life activities. Biographies are usually about famous or infamous people, but a biography of an ordinary person can tell us a lot about a particular time and place. They are often about historical figures, but they can also be about people still living. Many biographies are written in chronological order. Some group time periods around a major theme, such as early adversity or ambition and achievement. Still others focus on specific topics or accomplishments. Biographers use primary and secondary sources. Primary sources are things like letters, diaries, or newspaper accounts. Secondary sources include other biographies, reference books, or histories that provide information about the subject of the biography. To write a biography, you should select a person you are interested in, find out the basic facts of the person's life, start with the encyclopedia and almanac, think about what else you would like to know about the person and what parts of the life you want to write most about. Some questions you might want to think about include: what makes this person special or interesting? What kind of effect did he or she have on the world, other people? What are the adjectives you would most use to describe the person? What examples from their life illustrate those qualities? What events shaped or changed this person's life? Did he or she overcome obstacles, take risks, get lucky? Would the world be better or worse if this person hadn't lived? How and why? Do additional research at your library or on the internet to find information that helps you answer these questions and tell an interesting story. Write your biography about any person whom you like, maybe your father, mother, your grandparents, your uncles, or the leader you like. Tips on writing a biographical sketch. Here are a few tips on writing a biographical sketch that will help you compile and format all the information which is needed. Get basic information about the subject, list achievements and influences, arrangement of information, and verify information. Grammar. Adjectives. What is an adjective? If a friend tells you, "I bought a belt," you probably don't find the information very exciting. But if he says, I bought an American belt, you are more likely to pick up your ears and want to hear more about it. You might ask him what kind of belt. You might also question where and when he bought it. Words that give these kinds of information in a sentence are usually modifiers. What does the word modifier mean? To modify means to change. An electric fan modifies the temperature. A new rug modifies the color scheme of a room. A single word can modify the picture in your mind made by another word. Let's see how a single word modifier can change the picture made by a naming word like car. Black car, expensive car, low car, fast car, foreign car, new car. The word car remains the same, but the picture in your mind is changed by each different modifier. Black, low, foreign, expensive, fast, and new. Introducing the adjective. Words like cat, pencil, and coat are the names of things. They name general kinds of things. But there are many varieties of each, such as black cat, sleek cat, smart cat, new pencil, red pencil, wooden pencil, fur coat, long coat, satin coat. Introducing the adjectives. The modifiers that change the meaning of each noun are adjectives. Adjective gives us a sharper, more detailed picture of what the noun names. It also points out which ones, how many, or how much. Introducing the adjective, which ones, how many, how much. This coat, 5 coats, some water. That pencil, several girls, all boys. These cars, few jobs, no heat. Introducing the adjective. When we use an adjective to modify a noun, the adjective usually goes right before the noun. The chief exception to this order is when we use an adjective as a subject complement. Word groups like fast car, black cat, and shabby coat are not sentences, but we can make them into sentences by using a link verb. Introducing the adjective, you can see here, the car is fast. So these two are linked with the verb called is. The cat was black, a link verb here was. The coat became shabby, is a linking verb. Here fast, black and shabby are still adjectives, but instead of coming next to their noun, they are tied to them by linking verbs. A noun may of course be modified by several adjectives. A small, furry animal ran across the road. When it modifies a pronoun, an adjective always appears after a linking verb. We don't say wonderful he, kind she, smart they, but we can use these adjectives to modify their pronouns by means of linking verbs as illustrated below. He is wonderful, she is kind, they are smart. So an adjective is a word that modifies a noun or a pronoun. Characteristics of adjectives. Characteristics of adjectives. Location of adjectives. Adjectives usually occupy three different locations in a sentence. First, most adjectives will stand directly before the nouns that they modify. Second, an adjective may follow a noun or a pronoun and a linking verb. Forms to be, become, seem, feel, look. Third, at times adjectives will stand directly behind the nouns or pronouns they modify. Uses of adjectives. Adjectives modify nouns and noun substitutes. Thus, they help to clarify the meanings of nouns. The adjectives in the following sentences are placed on slanted lines under the nouns they modify. Adjectives modify subjects. Every book will be due. Every is the book will be due. Adjectives modify subjects. Is the green sweater yours? Sweater is subject here. Sweater is yours. The green. So that is an adjective. Pros. Animals have a long history of being used in wars. Perhaps even a clever caveman was able to train a dinosaur to help him fight his enemies. Now a big creature like a T-Rex or even a vicious, speedy raptor would really give you a great advantage in a battle. Imagine the surprise on your opponent's face when you brought out one of these as your secret weapon. We have never heard of any dinosaurs used to fight a war, but horses have been on the battlefield with humans for more than 5,000 years. For example, in Ramayana war or Mahabharata war, even the enormous elephant has been used for more than 3,000 years in many of our Indian wars. People have depended on the talents and abilities of many different animals to help their country win fights on land, in the air and at sea. Oxen, mules and horses have helped pull supplies. Cats have been used to get rid of rats and mice on ships and boats. Pigeons have been used to carry messages across enemy lines. Dogs have helped soldiers find bombs and mines, sniff out hiding enemy troops, act as guards, and they also perform search and rescue missions. The flaming war pigs. In ancient times, pigs were set on fire and then released. The soldiers hoped that the enemies fall from their elephants and horses and be crushed by their own frightened, stampeding animals. This was not the best idea in the world. It is cruel to set a poor, defenseless pig on fire, and most of the time the pigs would attack the soldiers who did this instead of the enemy troops. It did not take long for people to understand that you cannot control a mad pig, and you certainly cannot expect a mad pig with flames on his back to listen to any instructions. Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Like School Level 4. Academic Week 8 Language Skills. Reading, creative act, writing, grammar and prose. Reading. Why does ice float on water? Creative writing, biography. Grammar, uses of adjectives. Prose, how to make ice cream for kids. Reading. Why does ice float? A substance floats if it is less dense or has less mass per unit volume than other components in a mixture. For example, if you toss a handful of rocks into a bucket of water, the rocks, which are dense compared to the water, will sink, just like the crow, how it pelted stone in the pot for the water to come up. The water, which is less dense than the rocks, will float. Basically, the rocks push the water out of the way or displace it. For an object to be able to float, it has to display a weight of fluid equal to its own weight. Water reaches its maximum density at 4 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Fahrenheit. As it cools further and freezes into ice, it actually becomes less dense. On the other hand, most substances are most dense in their solid or frozen state than in their liquid state. Water is different because of hydrogen bonding. A water molecule is made from one oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms strongly joined to each other with covalent bonds. As water cools below 4 degrees centigrade, this produces a crystal lattice which is commonly known as ice. Ice floats because it is about 9 degrees less dense than liquid water. In other words, ice takes up about 9% more space than water, so a liter of ice weighs less than a liter of water. The heavier water displaces the lighter ice, so ice floats to the top. One consequence of this is that lakes and rivers freeze from top to bottom, allowing fish to survive even when the surface of a lake has frozen over. If ice sank, the water would be displaced to the top and exposed to the colder temperature, forcing rivers and lakes to fill with ice and freeze solid. Writing, a biography. Writing, a biography. A biography is simply the story of a life. Biographies can be just a few sentences long, or they can fill an entire book or two. Very short biographies tell the basic facts of someone's life and importance. Longer biographies include that basic information, of course, with a lot more detail, but they also tell a good story. Biographies analyze and interpret the events in a person's life. They try to find connections, explain the meaning of unexpected actions or mysteries, and make arguments about the significance of the person's accomplishments or life activities. Biographies are usually about famous or infamous people, but a biography of an ordinary person can tell us a lot about a particular time and place. They are often about historical figures, but they can also be about people still living. Many biographies are written in chronological order. Some group time periods around a major theme, such as early adversity or ambition and achievement. Still others focus on specific topics or accomplishments. Biographers use primary and secondary sources. Primary sources are things like letters, diaries, or newspaper accounts. Secondary sources include other biographies, reference books, or histories that provide information about the subject of the biography. To write a biography, you should select a person you are interested in, find out the basic facts of the person's life, start with the encyclopedia and almanac, think about what else you would like to know about the person and what parts of the life you want to write most about. Some questions you might want to think about include: what makes this person special or interesting? What kind of effect did he or she have on the world, other people? What are the adjectives you would most use to describe the person? What examples from their life illustrate those qualities? What events shaped or changed this person's life? Did he or she overcome obstacles, take risks, get lucky? Would the world be better or worse if this person hadn't lived? How and why? Do additional research at your library or on the internet to find information that helps you answer these questions and tell an interesting story. Write your biography about any person whom you like, maybe your father, mother, your grandparents, your uncles, or the leader you like. Tips on writing a biographical sketch. Here are a few tips on writing a biographical sketch that will help you compile and format all the information which is needed. Get basic information about the subject, list achievements and influences, arrangement of information, and verify information. Example of biography. Biography of Mahatma Gandhi. Historical importance. Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas Gandhi, is considered the father of the Indian independence movement. He was born on October 2nd, 1869 and died on January 30th, 1948. He is also known as Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Mahatma, great soul, father of the nation, Bapu or Gandhiji. Overview of Gandhi. Mohandas Gandhi was the last child of his father, Karamchand Gandhi, and his father's fourth wife, Putli Bai. During his youth, Mohandas Gandhi was shy, soft-spoken, and only a mediocre student at school. Although generally an obedient child, at one point Gandhi experimented with eating meat, smoking, and a small amount of stealing, all of which he later regretted. At age 13, Gandhi married Kasturba in an arranged marriage. Kasturba bore Gandhi 4 sons and supported Gandhi's endeavors until her death in 1944. Off to London. In September 1888, at age 18, Gandhi left India without his wife and newborn son in order to study to become a barrister, a lawyer in London. In addition to learning to live a very simple and frugal lifestyle, Gandhi discovered his lifelong passion for vegetarianism while in England. Gandhi successfully passed the bar on June 10, 1891 and sailed back to India 2 days later. For the next 2 years, Gandhi attempted to practice law in India. Unfortunately, Gandhi found that he lacked both knowledge of Indian law and self-confidence at trial. When he was offered a year-long position to take a case in South Africa, he was thankful for the opportunity. Arriving in South Africa. At age 23, Gandhi once again left his family behind and set off for South Africa, arriving in British-governed Natal in May 1893. Although Gandhi was hoping to earn a little bit of money and to learn more about law, it was in South Africa that Gandhi transformed from a very quiet and shy man to a resilient and potent leader against discrimination. The beginning of this transformation occurred during a business trip taken shortly after his arrival in South Africa. Gandhi had only been in South Africa for about a week when he was asked to take the long trip from Natal to the capital of the Dutch-governed Transvaal province of South Africa for his case. It was to be a several-day trip, including transportation by train and by stagecoach. When Gandhi boarded the first train of his journey at the Pietersburg station, railroad officials told Gandhi that he needed to transfer to the third-class passenger car. When Gandhi, who was holding first-class passenger tickets, refused to move, a policeman came and threw him off the train. That was not the last of the injustice Gandhi suffered on this trip. As Gandhi talked to other Indians in South Africa, they all were derogatorily called coolies. He found that his experience was most definitely not isolated incidents, but rather these types of situations were common. During that first night of his trip, sitting in the cold of the railroad station after being thrown off the train, Gandhi contemplated whether he should go back home to India or to fight the discrimination. After much thought, Gandhi decided that he could not let these injustices continue and that he was going to fight to change these discriminatory practices. The reforms and movement. Gandhi spent the next 20 years working to better Indians' rights in South Africa. During the first 3 years, Gandhi learned more about Indian grievances, studied the law, wrote letters to officials, and organized petitions. In 1896, after living 3 years in South Africa, Gandhi sailed to India. While in India, there was a bubonic plague outbreak. Gandhi personally inspected the latrines of the untouchables, joined the national movement for freedom with other leaders, and marched forward to free India from the hands of Britishers. Gandhiji's work for independence. He organized many movements like Salt Satyagraha, Dandi March, Quit India movement, Non-Cooperation movement, participated in Round Table Conference and got India freedom on 15th August 1947. His life's mission was self-reliance. He always followed and preached not to see wrong, not to speak wrong, and not to hear any wrong. His 3 monkeys make us follow what he believed and practiced. Grammar. Uses of adjectives. Correct use of some adjectives like any, some. I shall give you some money. We shall have not any mangoes. Have you any interesting novel with you? Will you please lend me some books? Some is used to denote quantity or degree in affirmative sentences. Any in negative and interrogative sentences. Some is, however, used in questions which are really commands or requests, as is the case with sentence number 4. Correct use of some adjectives. Each, every. Every boy stood up. There are 3 books on each table. Every one of the girls was present. Every 4th year is a leap year. Take a dose of this medicine after every 3 hours. Each and every have similar meaning, every being more forceful than each. Each is used for 2 or more than 2 things, but every is used for more than 2 things. Each is used for a limited number of groups, but every is used for an unlimited or indefinite number. Each refers to the individuals of a group, but every refers to the total group. Little, a little, the little. He has little money to give in charity. Hardly any or not much. I have a little practice of typing, like some, but not much. I spent the little money I had on gambling. Not much, but all that. Little has a negative meaning. A little has a positive meaning. The little means all, though not much. Few, a few, the few. Few men can compare with Gandhi in sincerity and sacrifice. Not many, hardly any in negative sense. A few students were present, some but not many in the positive sense. He has read the few books he could borrow from the library. Not many, but all of them. Older, oldest. I am older than he is. He is the oldest member of this board. This building is older than that. Older and oldest are used both for persons and things and refer to age. Elder, eldest are applicable to persons only and refer to the members of the same family and convey the idea of seniority in age. He is his elder brother. She is his eldest daughter. Farther, further. Madras is farther from Delhi than Bombay, like more distance. The teacher asked him to read further. So, what further information can you furnish? Something additional. Both are comparative degrees of far, but only farther is used as comparative degree. Later, later. I reached the meeting later than Ram refers to time. The later part of the book is difficult to follow, refers to order or position. Latest, last. What is the latest news about the war? Refers to time. I shall be the last man to receive him. Refers to order or position. Nearest, next. He is his nearest relative. Who got the next position? Which is the nearest railway station from here? Nearest denotes distance, space, while next refers to position. Few little. Few have succeeded to ascend the Everest. Little has been achieved in this direction. Few is plural and means are not many. Little is singular and means hardly any. Many, much. He has not many friends to help him. Much has been talked about this matter. Many denotes number, much shows quantity. Many, a. A great many students have secured first division in this school. Many a scholar is discouraged by the indifference of the government. Many a is a phrase followed by a noun and a verb in the singular number, while a many is followed by a noun and a verb in the plural. All whole. I drank all the milk. The whole of India mourned Mahatma Gandhi's death. All the students were present in the class. In the first two sentences, both denote quantity, but in the third sentence, all denotes number. Every 2 hours means after the duration of 2 hours. Every second hour means after the duration of 1 hour. The first 2 chapters means chapter 1 and 2 of the 2 different books. The 2 first chapters means first chapter of 2 different books. Prose. Ice cream making. How to make ice cream for kids. Yummy ice cream is a delicious treat that kids can make with or without an adult's help. You can make a great ice cream in an ice cream churn with your parents or other adults to help. But you can also make real ice cream in a small plastic sandwich bag. The choice is up to you, but here are recipes for making ice cream both ways. If you want to make your ice cream at home in an ice cream maker, you will need to help of your parents. The recipe, though, is one of that you will like because it is so very easy to remember and you can measure and add all of the ingredients yourself. Here is the marvelous triple ice cream recipe. What makes this a special, kid-friendly treat is that everything is measured in threes or triples. The ingredients: 3 cups cream, 3 cups sugar, 3 cups milk, 3 mashed bananas, the juice from 3 lemons, the juice from 3 oranges. If you want, you can add eggs, otherwise you can no need to add eggs at all. In a big bowl, you can mix the sugar and cream until you have dissolved all of the sugar. Then add the milk, bananas and juices. Pour this mix into your ice cream maker and let your parents show you how your ice cream churn or freezer works. For an electric ice cream maker, it will take about an hour to make the ice cream. And if you use a churn, it can take about twice as long as to create this triple ice cream treat. For a true kids ice cream recipe, you need a small sandwich-sized zipper lock plastic bag to hold your ingredients. To the bag, add 1 tablespoon of regular sugar and half and half of now add 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla flavoring. You will need a large gallon-sized zipper lock plastic bag. Fill about halfway with crushed ice and ice cubes and 2 tablespoons of rock salt from the grocery. This is very different salt from the table salt used for cooking. Next, place your plastic bag of ingredients in the gallon bag of ice and more ice until the bag is about 3/4 full and zip the opening shut. Make sure you remove most of the air before closing the top of the bag. Now shake, rattle and roll that bag of ice for about 20 minutes and then remove your smaller bag with your newly created ice cream and enjoy your very own homemade treat. Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Like School Level 4. Academic Week 9. Language Skills. Language Skills. Reading. Is it always hot at the equator? Creative writing. Biography. Grammar. What is an adverb? Prose. Global warming for kids. Reading. Is it always hot at the equator? The equator is an imaginary circle around the earth an equal distance from the north and south poles. Since the weather gets warmer as you travel away from the polar regions toward the equator, you would think that the equator is the hottest place on earth. But there are some places on the equator where the weather is quite cool. The city of Singapore in the Far East, which is very close to the equator, has a hot, humid climate with year-round temperatures well up in the 80s. But Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya in Africa, is even closer to the equator than Singapore, and yet has an average temperature in the 60s. And Quito, the capital of Ecuador in South America, sits almost directly on the equator, yet has a mild spring-like climate with temperatures as low as 25 degrees. So how can this be? Altitude has as much to do with a city's weather as its location. Nairobi is over 5,000 feet above sea level, and Quito, which is in the Andes Mountains, is over 9,200 feet above sea level. That's why this equatorial city has a cooler climate than many American cities. There are no seasons on the equator. Temperatures remain just about the same throughout the year. Writing a biography. Writing a biography. Here is a biography of Curie. Marie Curie, 1859-1906, scientist, and his wife, Marie Sklodowska Curie, 1867-1934, chemists and physicists, are known for their work on radioactivity and on radium. The Curie's daughter, Irina, was also a scientist. Marie Curie's early work dealt with crystallography and the effects of temperature on magnetism. He discovered in 1883, and with his brother Jacques Curie investigated piezoelectricity in crystals. Mary's interest in science was stimulated by her father, a professor of physics in Warsaw. In 1891, she went to Paris to continue her studies at the Sorbonne. In 1895, she married Pierre Curie and engaged in independent research in his laboratory at the Municipal School of Physics and Chemistry, where Pierre was director of laboratories and professor. Following A.H. Becquerel's discovery of radioactivity, Madame Curie began to investigate uranium, a radioactive element found in pitchblende. In 1898, she reported a probable new element in pitchblende, and Pierre Curie joined in her research. They discovered both polonium and radium, laboriously isolated 1 gram of radium salts from about 8 tons of pitchblende, and determined the atomic weights and properties of radium and polonium. The Curies refused to patent their process or otherwise to profit from the commercial exploitation of radium. For their work on radioactivity, they shared with Becquerel in 1903 Nobel Prize in Physics. During World War I, Madame Curie devoted her energies to providing radiological services for hospitals. In 1921, a gram of radium, a gift from American women, was presented to her by President Harding. This she accepted in behalf of the Curie Institute. A second gram, presented in 1929, was given by Madame Curie to the newly founded Curie Institute in Warsaw. 5 years later, she died from the effects of radioactivity. In 1995, Marie and Pierre Curie's ashes were enshrined in the Pantheon, Paris. She was the first woman to be honored so in her own right. Grammar.
What is an adverb? An adverb is a word that is used to modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Definition of adverb. An adverb is a word used to qualify any part of speech except a noun or pronoun. Besides qualifying a verb, adjective, or other adverb, it qualifies preposition and conjunction. There are 3 kinds of adverbs: simple, interrogative, relative.
Simple adverbs. These can be distinguished from one another according to their meanings. Time. He will soon arrive. Ram was taken ill yesterday. Soon and yesterday are adverbs of time. The chief adverbs of this class are now, then, before, since, ago, already, soon, presently, immediately, instantly, early, late, afterwards, yesterday, today, tomorrow. Place. We must rest here and not there. Here and there are adverbs of place. The chief adverbs of this class are here, there, hence, thence, hither, thither, in, out, within, without, above, below, insider, side, far, near. Number. I did this once, but will not do it again. Once and again are adverbs of number. The chief adverbs of this class are once, twice, thrice, again, seldom, never, sometimes, always, often, firstly, secondly, thirdly. Manner, quality or state. He did his work swiftly but correctly. Swiftly and correctly are adverbs of manner. The main adverbs of this category are thus, so, well, ill, amiss, badly, slowly, surely, probably, certainly, and conveniently. Quantity, extent or degree. He is not wholly responsible for this. He is partly at fault in this affair. Wholly and partly are adverbs of quantity or extent. The principal adverbs of this class are very, much, too, quite, almost, little, a little, rather, somewhat, half, partly, wholly, so etc. Affirming or denying. He did not oblige me at all. Not in the adverb of denying. To this class of adverb belong yes, no, net, nay, not at all, by all means. Interrogative adverbs. Adverbs are those which are used for asking questions. They may be one or other kind of simple adverbs. Characteristics of adverbs. Characteristics of adverbs. Adverb location in sentences. An adverb that modifies an adjective or another adverb will be found in front of that word. An adverb that modifies a verb can be found almost anywhere in a sentence. For example, the adverb noiselessly may be placed wherever there is an X in this sentence. That is, the snow, noiselessly the snow, or noiselessly fell, or noiselessly from the ridge, or from the ridge noiselessly. The ly suffix for adverbs. Thousands of adjectives can be made into adverbs just by adding the suffix ly. Spelling problems may arise, however, if the adjective ends in y, ble, al, fl, or ic. Furious, furiously. Lazy, lazily. Visible, visibly. Usual, usually. Careful, carefully. Frantic, frantically. Prose. Global warming for kids. Researchers and many scientists are concerned that the Earth's climate and atmosphere are becoming warmer than they should be. Climatologists study the climates and record temperatures, but they do not all agree about what is causing the temperature to rise. What scientists do agree on is that the temperature will continue to increase in warmth if steps are not taken to correct many problems that humans are creating with pollution and emissions from cars and factories. It is widely agreed that oil and coal create greenhouse gases when they are burned to produce heat or power. These emissions include carbon dioxide gas, and they are the cause of most of the warming problems that are being seen today. The loss of trees in many areas is making the problem worse because trees and plants absorb carbon dioxide gas and release oxygen. The fewer trees that are left standing, the less carbon dioxide can be absorbed. When someone talks about global warming, they are talking about the increase in the average temperature recorded at the surface of the earth that is due to excessive carbon dioxide and other greenhouse emissions and gases. The term climate change is used to talk about broad, far-reaching changes in the climate that include seasonal changes as well as major differences in average temperatures and rainfall. Scientists predict that the sea level will rise, ice caps will melt, and some animals and plants will fail to survive because their habitat will disappear and they cannot live in other areas. There may be more deserts and less available farmland because of the dry earth, and there may be more storms and flooding to many countries. No one can seem to agree on the best way to solve the many problems, but some countries, including the UK and the US, are taking steps to prevent the situation from becoming worse. There are programs to educate citizens and students about the situation, and recycling is becoming more common. New guidelines are also being introduced to try to limit these greenhouse gases from being produced by factories and businesses. The rush is on to use more alternative energy sources and to move away from the use of fossil fuels that produce many of the gases that damage the atmosphere. One thing that everyone can do is limit their use of energy every day, and you can do this no matter how old or young you are. So many things that people take for granted use energy, and excessive energy use will contribute to the warming of the planet because more greenhouse gases are being produced. Try to limit the unnecessary use of your electricity and work to conserve energy every day. Energy-friendly tips. Use energy-efficient light bulbs in your room and home. Turn electrical appliances like computers, radios, and TVs off when not in use. Limit frequent use of washing machines and let your clothing dry on a line outside on sunny days instead of using the clothes dryer. Use less water in the shower, and remember that you will use less water for a shower than for a tub bath. Set the thermostats on lower settings during the cool months and the higher settings during the warm months so you use less energy. Plant trees in your yard or the neighborhood. You will have to get permission to do this, but trees are our friends and we need them. Walk more or use a bike to get from one place to another. Each time you leave your car at home, you are also decreasing the production of greenhouse gases. Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Like School Level 4. Academic Week 10 Language Skills. Language Skills. Reading. History of the Internet for kids. Creative writing. Usage. Words with A. Grammar. Use of adverbs. Prose. How to make a tin can foam. Reading. History of the Internet. We are all familiar with computers and the Internet, and yet few people know the history of this amazing invention. So let's look at how the Internet began. Almost 40 years ago, the US Defense Department first set the stage for the Internet with a network that was called ARPANET. This was a research program that was begun to discover new ways to link different networks together for government and scientific use. What they hoped to develop was a method of communicating information packets among many computers at the same time. The first name given to this project was the Interneting, and the network that resulted became known by the shortened form, the Internet. Protocols were developed, and these were called the TCP, or Transmission Control Protocol, and the IP, or the Internet Protocol. These are terms that are still in use today in the computer world. Originally, the idea of this type of networking by computers was thought of in 1962 by J.C.R. Licklider at the Manchester Institute of Technology. He truly was the first person to envision and describe a world that was linked by computers for the express purpose of sharing information. In the US, the first Internet attempts were begun for universities and research departments at the government level. This was considered to be a great way to share ideas, information, and resources. Today, the Internet is available across the globe in caves, homes, stores, and even in remote wilderness areas, even in India. Creative writing. Usage. Glossary of usage. Words starting with A. The following glossary consists of words and expressions that often present problems regarding correct usage. Because correct usage is based on tradition and varies from situation to situation, not all authorities agree on every item. The usage rules given below are those that most languages authorities consider to be acceptable standard usage for most occasions. Let us see some words starting with A. A and an are noun signals. They show that a noun will follow. Use A before words beginning with a consonant sound. Use an before words beginning with a vowel sound. A rabbit, a habit, a document. An hair, an honest person, an apple. Accept, accept. Accept and accept are both verbs. Accept means to agree to or to receive willingly. Accept means to exclude or to leave out. Accept can also be used as a preposition meaning but. Used as a preposition, accept still suggests exclusion. Remember that accept and agree begin with the same letter and that accept and exclude begin the same way. She accepted the award with dignity, means received willingly. One applicant was accepted because he was too young, excluded. I liked all the stories except the last, means the but. Advise, advise. Advise is a noun meaning helpful information. Advise is a verb meaning to give helpful information or to warn. Take my advice and get some exercise, the doctor said. It is a helpful information. The dean advised the students not to disrupt the lecture, warned. Affect, effect. Affect is a verb meaning to influence or to pretend. Effect is a noun meaning result. Effect can also be used as a verb meaning to bring out. A change in the weather affects her arthritis, means influences. Nina affected boredom, although in truth she was very interested, means pretended. Her lecture had no effect on the audience, result. The senator found it difficult to effect changes, means bring about. Aggravate, irritate. The formal English aggravate means to make worse. In informal English, aggravate has been accepted as a synonym for irritate or former Sal's poison Evie was aggravated by his constant scratching, means made worse. Informal, people who complain aggravate me, means irritate, annoy. Ain't. The old expression ain't in the dictionary is no longer true. Ain't is now in several dictionaries, but it is still regarded as non-standard usage. Writers and speakers of standard English avoid using ain't unless they wish to imitate colloquial or non-standard English. Already. Already is a two-word term meaning completely ready. Already, one word means at that time or by that time. The children were all ready for supper, completely ready. They had already washed their hands by that time. Grammar.
Uses of adverb.
Correct use of adverbs. Adverbs should be so placed in a sentence as to make it quite clear which word or words they are intended to modify. Hence, adverbs should come, if possible, next to the word or words they modify. For example, he failed miserably though he tried his best. As a general rule, only should be placed immediately before the word it is intended to modify, as our hockey team scored only 2 goals. Only Ram could solve this problem. We should praise only when one deserves. Adjectives should not be used for adverbs. The sentence, he returned quicker than I expected, is wrong. The correct sentence is, he returned more quickly than I expected. The use of never for not is incorrect. We met the other day, but he never mentioned your name is incorrect. The correct form is, we met the other day, but he did not mention your name. It is incorrect to say that Munshi Premchand was never born in Lucknow, but the correct form is that Munshi Premchand was not born in Lucknow. With present participles used as adjectives, the adverb very is used with past participle. The adverb much is used as, it is very astonishing. This news is very heartening. I was much heartened to hear this news. This is a very interesting topic. Note, a few participles take very before them, as I am very pleased to hear this. He was very tired and took rest for some time. The adverb to means more than enough and should not be used instead of very or much. In the following sentences, to is wrongly used. I am too happy. It is too cold. However, the following sentences are correct. I am too happy to express in words. It is too cold to go out. Use of since, ago, before. Since used as an adverb refers to the time dating backwards from. It is preceded by a verb in the past indefinite and a noun denoting period of time, as your friend left this place a month since. Ago is used to express period of time measuring back, now as his mother died 4 months ago. Before is used to express some indefinite previous time. I have never met him before. Quite should not be used in the sense of very, as he is quite, not very well. I am very, not quite, sorry to hear this sad news. It is incorrect to place an adverb between an infinitive and its sign to. It is wrong to say, you are requested to kindly grant me leave. The correct form is, you are requested kindly to grant me leave. By and by means after an interval, and by means incidentally. They should not be confused. By and by, India will become an advanced country. By the way, please tell me the exact date of your friend's arrival. Prose. How to make a tin can phone. Ever made a phone from 2 empty baked bean cans? What better way to recycle, have fun and learn a little science, what you will need. When we are very young, we used to play with can phones. So let us see how we can use these cans to make a phone. Recycle 2 clean empty tin cans, a long piece of string, a hammer and nail, also an adult who can use them. Let's not forget the person who you want to talk to. What to do? Have fun. Take the 2 clean tin cans, remove one end completely. If they have been used for dinner, they should already be done. Be sure they are clean and do not to leave any sharp edges. Get a grown-up to check this. Ask your adult to turn the can over and use the hammer and nail to make a small hole in the center of each can. Now that you have your holes, take a long piece of string. Thread one end of the string through one of the nail holes. Tie a knot in each end, so you cannot pull it back through the hole. Repeat with the other can and the other end of string. Your tin phone is nearly complete. Hold one can and give the other side to your friend and walk away from each other until the string is stretched tight. As one person chats into a can, the other listens in the other end. Can you hear them? You will be surprised at how well this works. What you will learn? A science. When you talk into your tin can, the bottom of it vibrates back and forth with the sound waves you have made. The vibrations travel through the tight string. As a result, the bottom of the second tin can should start to vibrate just like the bottom of the first tin can is vibrating, producing sound waves, so you can therefore hear what the first person says. Have fun, learn science, and see how sound vibrates. Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Like School Level 4. Academic Week 12, Language Skills. Language Skills, Reading. How did universe come into existence? Creative Writing. Usage, words starting with C. Punctuation, conjunctions. Gymnastics, prose. Reading. How did universe come into existence? How did universe come into existence? Do you know what the universe is? It is endless space and everything that it holds. Earth, the sun, the moon, the planets and the stars. Even if you walk millions and millions of miles, you will not be able to reach the end of space, and in fact, you have hardly reached its beginning. The reason for that is that space is too large to describe. Earth exists within this limitless space. Along with Earth, the sun, moon, and millions of stars exist in it as well. So how did all of these things form? How did the sun come into being? Or how did our Earth appear? Scientists have made a very important discovery in recent years. This important discovery was that before the universe was formed, there was nothing else. There was no light, no air, no water, and there were no stars. There was even no space. Inside this nothingness, there was this tiny spot. This spot was so tiny that it was difficult even for an eye to see. A lot of matter had been squeezed together inside this spot. Then, in an instant, this spot exploded. When it exploded, all the matter that was squeezed inside it flew about. After that, the pieces of matter joined together to first form atoms. Then, from those atoms, stars, our sun, Earth, and the other planets. The scientists named this explosion the Big Bang. Everything in the universe was formed as a result of this Big Bang. Creative Writing. Can, may. May is used when permission or possibility is involved. Can is used when ability is suggested. In an informal English, can and may have become interchangeable when used to express permission. In an informal way, can Delia stay overnight? In a formal way, can Reggie roller skate? May Reggie go roller skating? Or it may rain today. Capital and capital. The most common meanings of capital are the city serving as the seat of government for a state or country, an uppercase letter, and money used to develop a business. A capital is the building that houses the federal and state government. Center around, center about. Center around and center about are accepted in informal English. Formal English requires the use of center on or center in. Informal, the discussion centered around the declining crime rate in large cities, and a formal one, the discussion centered on the declining crime rate in large cities. The crux of prevention is centered in citizen awareness. Compare to, compare with. To compare one thing to another is to point out general similarities. To compare one thing with another is to examine specific points of difference and likeness. Robert compared his love to a red rose. Felicia joins the Peace Corps. She will have an opportunity to compare life in another country with her experience in the United States. Grammar, punctuation, quote marks. Quotation marks are used to quote another person's words exactly, whether they be spoken or written. For example, John said, "We are going to shopping." Colon. A colon should be used after a complete statement in order to introduce one or more directly related ideas, such as a series of directions, a list, or a quotation or other comment illustrating or explaining the statement. For example, the daily newspaper contains 4 sections: news, sports, entertainment, and classified ads. Semicolon. Use a semicolon to join related independent clauses in compound sentences. For example, Jim worked hard to earn his degree. Consequently, he was certain to achieve a distinction. Apostrophe. The apostrophe has 3 uses: to form possessives of nouns, to show the omission of letters, to indicate certain plurals of lowercase letters. Parentheses. Parentheses are occasionally and sparingly used for extra non-essential material included in a sentence. For example, dates, sources, or ideas that are subordinate or tangential to the rest of the sentence are set apart in parentheses. Parentheses always appear in pairs. Before arriving at the station, the old train caught fire. Dash or hyphen. Dash. Use the dash to emphasize a point or to set off an explanatory comment, but don't overuse dashes or they will lose their impact. The boys dash Jim, John, and Jeff dash left the party early. As you can see, the dash can be used in the same way as parentheses. Hyphen. Use a hyphen to join 2 or more words serving as a single adjective before a noun. Chocolate dash covered peanuts.
Conjunctions.
Without a conjunction, a sentence cannot function.
Conjunction is a word which is used to join words or sentences together, as but and still, etc. There are two kinds of conjunctions: subordinate conjunctions and coordinate conjunctions.
The main coordinate conjunctions are and, but, for, or, not, also, either, or, neither, nor. Subordinating conjunctions: after, although, as if, as long as much as soon as though, because, before, even if, even though, if only, as much, in order that, once, provided, rather than, since, so that, than, that, though, till, unless, until, when, whenever, where, whereas, wherever, and while. Classes of conjunctions. Coordinate conjunctions are of four kinds. Cumulative, which merely add one statement to another. He worked hard and got the first position. He went to visit and met his mother. Adversative, which express opposition or contrail between two statements, as he is poor but very honest. He worked hard, nevertheless he failed in the examination. His father was unhappy, still he kept quiet. He was all right, only he was tired. Alternative, which express choice between two alternatives, as either he is sick or feigns sickness. Walk fast or you will miss the train. She must weep or she will die. Neither a borrower nor a lender be. Lative, which expresses an inference, as he is sick, therefore he cannot attend the meeting. They did not realize the gravity of the situation, so they failed to tackle it. I cannot lend you money, for I have none. Subordinate conjunctions are classified according to their meanings, as time. He has been helping me since he came here. My sister returned home after I had gone. Cause or reason: nobody likes him because he is dishonest. Since you do not care for health, you are unhealthy. Purpose: he is working hard so that he may pass. I do not overeat lest I should fall sick. Result or effect: he is so tired that he can hardly go further. His father is so poor that he cannot send his son to some expensive public school. Condition: you cannot achieve your goal if you remain lethargic. You cannot please your father unless you mend your ways. Place: you may go wherever you like. The nomads wander where they find grass for camels. Manner: you should work as you are instructed. I shall never betray you so far as I can help it. Comparison: he is as diligent as his brother is. The present officer is more honest than his predecessor. All the above mentioned conjunctions introduce subordinate adverbial clauses. Pros: going for the gymnastic gold. Going for the gymnastic gold. Here is some news about gymnastics that I bet you did not know. People have competed in gymnastic sports for over 4,000 years. The term gymnastics does not come from gymnasium as many people think. The word gymnastics actually is from gymnos, which is a Greek word that means naked, which is how the first Olympian athletes competed. The ancient civilizations may not have had modern walls thousands of years ago, But that did not stop the men and women in Greece from creating the competition of bull jumping. This may have been the first original extreme sport. Now this is a sport that we would all watch because the athletes have to run toward a bull as it charged. History books let us know that there were ancient civilizations that used the sport of gymnastics to make their soldiers stronger and more flexible. I am sure that jumping over bulls would have made them faster. It was in the 19th century that the sport started to include the use of rings, mats and bars. Germany and Sweden were the two countries that first had competitions that involved these pieces of equipment. Today, the sport of gymnastics consists of many activities that involve body strength, coordination, flexibility, and precision. Gymnastics became a part of the Olympics in 1886 and has been a part of these games ever since. Going for the gymnastic goal. Almost 25 years in 1904, rhythmic gymnastics appeared in the Olympics. In this type of sport, the athletes combine dance, balls, ropes, ribbons and hoops with their gymnastic moves. There are a total of 8 events for gymnasts in the Olympics. Events for both men and women, floor exercise, vault, events for men only, rings, parallel bars, horizontal bars and pommel horse, events for women only, balance beam, uneven bars. Now, does that make you want to stretch and bend? Welcome to Dr. Jaya's Virtual School. Life School Level 4. Academic Week 11 Language Skills. In this session, we will be doing reading, Leonardo da Vinci, creative writing, usage, words starting with B, grammar, punctuation, prose, from the man in the moon to man on the moon. Reading. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, born on April 15, 1452 in Vinci, Italy, Leonardo da Vinci started as young as 14 as an apprentice to an artist in Florence named Andrea di Verrocchio. Although he is best known for his beautiful and mysterious paintings, Leonardo was an inventor, scientist, architect, designer and engineer. Leonardo's most famous and loved artwork is perhaps the Mona Lisa, also known as La Gioconda. Until today, there are people who debate the subject of this painting. Most people believe that the portrait is of Lisa Gerardi del Gioconda, while a few people think that it is Leonardo's self-portrait as a woman. Contrary to popular belief, Leonardo completed very few paintings in his lifetime. Some of the paintings are recognized to be of other artists, where Leonardo was claimed to have contributed his talent. This is said to be a common practice amongst artists during the Renaissance era. However, Leonardo did complete many more drawings and studies, but unfortunately some of his works are missing. Another of his amazing paintings, Virgin of the Rock, took 25 years to complete. It was a subject of huge argument concerning the original agreement. Leonardo eventually was paid for his hard work after going through many complications. Leonardo studied in various scientific fields such as physics, dynamics, and hydraulics. He also studied the human anatomy, biology, optics, and aeronautics. Leonardo invented many things that were considered very advanced during the Renaissance, such as a canal system for irrigation and transportation in Milan, a movable bridge for the Duke of Milan, and detailed maps of Europe. Leonardo designed many things that he never saw made, such as machine gun, a cannon, gliders, ladders for climbing, castle walls, water pumps, and even the parachute. Other things that he invented or designed are a machine to make concave mirrors, a revolving stage for play and pageants. And he created animiflable tubes so that people can float in the water. One must not forget that he also drew the first precise illustration of the human anatomy to improve his knowledge. Leonardo performed autopsies on corpses. Leonardo resided in the Vatican not for religious studies but for his science experiments. One of Leonardo's greatest paintings, The Last Supper, is a testimony to his sincere faith and belief in Christianity. Although he was known as a man who was gracious and kind-hearted, Leonardo also had a few quick cuts. During his lifetime, he wrote many of his notes using mirror writing, written so that you can only read it in a mirror. It is said that he started writing in such a way since he was very young. Why don't you try it too? Leonardo da Vinci, a real Renaissance man, died on May 2nd, 1590 at the age of 67. Creative writing usage. Words starting with B. Backward, backwards, forward, forwards. Although either form can be used as an adverb, forward and backward are preferred in the United States. When used as adjectives, backward and forward, not the five forms, are correct. The wooden horse rocked forward and backward until under the child is an adverb. Maria faked a backward step and won the game, adjective. Bad, badly. Linking verbs such as feel, smell, look and taste require the adjective form bad. A standard one is spoiled meat smells badly, but a standard one is spoiled meat smells badly. And because of a long period of usage, the common expression feel badly, however, has become acceptable. Standard now is a guilty conscience makes you feel bad. So badly is used as an adverb. She swims badly. The child was badly frightened. Being as, being that. Being as and being that are used in some parts of the United States to mean because or shine. Dialect, being that it was Friday, the boss let us go home an hour early. Standard, since it was Friday, the boss let us go home an hour early. Beside, besides. Beside means next to or by the side of. Besides can mean either except or in addition to. Put the encyclopedia beside the dictionary. Next to. Besides the dictionary, the shelf is now empty except beside the encyclopedia we will soon have an almanac in addition to. Between you and I. Between you and I, though frequently used, is considered not standard English. Pronouns used as objects of prepositions must be in the objective case in standard English. The correct usage is between you and me, between you and her, between you and him, between you and us, and between you and them. Born and born. Both words are past participle of the verb bear. Born is used in reference to birth. Born is used when the meaning of the verb suggests to carry or to endure. The child was born at 3:15 a.m. Her father had borne many difficulties in his life. Had borne the heavy knapsack for 20 miles carried. Bring, take. Bring means to carry with you when you come. Take means to carry with you when you leave. Non-standard, bring this letter to Miss Garcia. Standard one, take this letter to Miss Garcia. Standard, bring the reply by the shortest route. Bust, busted. The use of these words as verbs meaning to break or to burst is slang. Non-standard. Be careful you don't bust that balloon, shouted Jill's mother. A standard one. Be careful you don't burst that balloon, shouted Jill's mother. Non-standard. Vandals busted 3 windows in the new wing of the school. A standard one. Vandals broke 3 windows in the new wing of the school. Grammar. Punctuation. Apostrophe, brackets, colon, comma, dash, ellipsis, exclamation point, hyphen, parenthesis, period, question mark, quotation mark, and semicolon. Comma. Use commas after introductory words, phrases, or clauses that come before the main clause. While I was eating, the cat scratched at the door. If you are ill, you ought to see a doctor. Introductory words that should be followed by a comma are yes, however, and well. Use a pair of commas to separate an aside from the main body of the sentence. Do not use commas to separate essential elements of the sentence. For example, students who cheat only harm themselves. The baby wearing a yellow jumpsuit is my niece. Period or full stop. The primary use of a period is to end a sentence. Its second important use is for abbreviations. Question mark. The question mark is a fairly easy punctuation mark to use. It has one use and one use alone. It goes at the end of a sentence which is question. For example, how many will be at the party? Exclamation mark. Only use this when issuing a command or speaking forcefully. As in the case of the question mark, do not follow this with a period and do not combine it with other punctuation marks. Oh, and only one is needed. 2 or 3 exclamation marks in a row is completely unnecessary. Prose. From the man in the moon to man on the moon. From the man in the moon to man on the moon. People used to talk about the man in the moon and believed that he was real. Books described strange creatures with many arms, eyes and legs that lived on the moon. There were even people who thought that the moon was made of cheese. All of these myths vanished when the first man from Earth walked on the moon. The summer of 2013 will be the 34th anniversary of that first moonwalk. It was the night of July 20th, 1969, when the Apollo 11 astronauts first landed on the moon. The men on board were Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. It was Neil Armstrong who had the honor of stepping out of the spacecraft and onto the moon's surface. Millions of people around the world stayed up late that night to see the black and white television landing. There were many people on Earth who were disappointed not to see some type of moon men or space creatures lurking about. Armstrong had to say something as he took that first important step. He made the statement, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Buzz Aldrin soon joined him outside of the Apollo 11 and they both were able to explore a little of the surface of the moon. Imagine how strange this adventure must have seemed. They were dressed in huge spacecrafts and were walking on surface where no other humans had set foot. Surely these men must have glanced in the directions of Earth and wondered if they would make it back home safely. When the astronauts returned to Earth, they were put in quarter time so that the scientists could make sure no bacteria or strange germs had been brought back. Even the samples of moon rocks and soil were kept in isolation until it was certain that they were safe. The rock and soil samples are sometimes described as small, but these samples actually weighed almost 900 pounds on Earth. The Apollo 11 was not the first time that something from Earth had landed on the moon. However, there was a Russian spacecraft named the Luna 2 that landed there in 1959. Actually, the Luna 2 crashed on the moon, but it was still the first man-made objects to get there. On July 31st, 1964, the Ranger 7 from the United States also crashed on the surface of the moon. Landings got better soon after the crash of the Ranger 7, and on February 3rd, 1966, the Luna 9 made a softer landing on the moon. Luckily, the Luna 9 had a lot of airbags on board because this softer landing was still pretty rough. The Soviet spacecraft hit the surface of the moon at a speed faster than 50 km per hour. The US made history a few months later when the Surveyor made gentle touchdown landing on June 2nd, 1966. If you were to go up onto the moon today, they would still see the footsteps of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. This is because there is no wind on the surface of the moon, unlike Earth, so that the footprints would be undisturbed.